We would all like to believe that our livestock watering sites are dry and solid, like this site. But we have all seen situations where a producer has put gravel around a water only to need to put additional rock around the same water within a short period of time. This is one of the reasons that we insist that livestock producers use hardened surfaces around their livestock waterers. Concrete can be used around livestock waters to get a site that is easy to maintain, but not all sites are appropriate for a good concrete base. A publication that I will show you later from Kentucky says although concrete is probably the most desirable surface for durable and low maintenance, we can create a site just as well using geotextile fabric and rock to produce one at a third the cost of concrete. And even concrete sites will seem to have a corner off of one side or the other with a significant drop-off caused by erosion over time. Site selection is very important. We should have our waters placed so that they do not have any extraneous drainage coming toward them, and then by the time we add additional rock, they're well elevated to keep them up high and dry. The publication I provide producers with when they're wanting to know more about using geotextiles is this one by University of Kentucky, using geotextiles for feeding and traffic sites. High traffic sites are exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about feeding sites and watering sites. You can get a copy of the publication by searching using geotextile, publication number AEN79. The publication is only 2 pages, and on the front page it has an excellent illustration of how to put in a geotextile site. It discusses putting in a site using 4 to 6 inches of limestone on top of the geotextile fabric. On the reverse side, it has illustrations of round bale feeding sites and such that a lot of producers should look at. What you see us using here is woven geotextile. There is also a non-woven geotextile that looks just like felt. I use them interchangeably and I don't care which product I get. It just depends on which is available when I'm looking. The difference that you want to know is don't confuse this with landscape fabric. Landscape fabrics are much lighter and will not serve the purpose of supporting the loads that we need. What we're using is a product that has 8 ounces per square yard. This is a nice material to use, and as you can see on the bottom, it has a good selvage edge, making it easy to use. We simply cut it by using a box knife, or you can sometimes cut it ahead of time using a hot blade. The objective is to place the geotextile fabric on the soil so that we prevent the mud from coming up through our gravel base. Geotextile fabric comes in large rolls. What we most often purchase is 15-foot wide roll, which has about 300 foot in length. The material is also available in other widths such as 8 foot and 12 foot. On those rolls they adjust the length so that they get the same 4,500 square foot of material in a roll. What I purchased most recently cost just a bit over $2 per running foot. For a project similar to this, producers often will ask someone to cut a 15-foot piece off, and they may charge them as much as $3 a running foot for it. But still, a 15-foot wide piece by 15 foot in length would cost them about $45. That's a pretty good bargain underneath a tire tank that will not need gravel replaced on it for many years. Our objective is to be able to create these watering sites that are dry and can be maintained solid for the livestock to drink from. Here again, site selection is very important. By the time you get the site prepared for installing a tire tank, you most often have the site ready for applying the geotextile. It's recommended that we remove at least any debris and often remove the grass from the surface before we put down the geotextile fabric.
We will use a 15-foot wide piece of fabric, 15-foot wide, 15-foot long. We'll put it right under the tank. So I think we'll clear the area here right now, cut an X right in the middle to go over the pipe, and then we'll put the fabric out. First thing is to find the middle of the piece of fabric. Knowing that it is 15 feet wide and it's folded in half, right here would be the middle, and it doesn't matter if you're exact or close. And then I cut an X right in the middle. And on windy days, yeah, it takes some help, and we will then put some soil on it to hold it down once we get it up. And by placing a little bit of soil or rock or gravel on, especially the leading edge that's into the wind, makes worlds of difference. Once you get that front edge held down, it lays pretty good, sir. And we'll go get the tire, and we will now put the tire on, thinking that it is relatively level.
Once the tire has been placed on the geotextile and then the concrete poured inside the tank, gravel can be added. But be cautious, because if you bump the tire, it is possible to fracture the seal between the tire and the concrete. I recommend producers wait a few days, up to a week, before they add additional rock around the tank. It's possible that by bumping the tire, you create a fracture or a crack in the concrete right along the bead, and therefore you'll have a leak. Here is another tank that is just setting on the fabric. It has been there for about a week. The tank is full of water now, and they're ready to add the additional rock. The 4 to 6 inches of rock can be adequate around a tank. However, often we will put more rock up around the side walls of the tank, knowing that the livestock will work that down over time. Make sure that you have at least 6 inches of the wall of the tank exposed above the rock. I know it looks like a lot of rock around these tanks, but you need to start out with adequate rock so that the livestock can work it down. Like I said, the livestock will work it down and smooth it out over the next months and years that the tank will be in operation. We most often recommend using road rock around these tanks because the clay and the dirt in the gravel blend will tend to glue the rock together, creating the good hardened surface. So what do you think? This is an excellent site, a nice finished product. In one closing comment about these tanks, livestock producers often discuss how to keep livestock from walking in the tanks. And what we have found the easiest is to build a neck rail around the tank by driving a pipe in along the tank and then connecting the neck rail later. It's easiest if you can do this before the gravel is installed, so that the geotextile fabric can be cut with a small X, just big enough for the pipe to be driven through, and then weld the neck rail on later.